Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce a distinguished leader whose profound experience in governance, diplomacy, and economic strategy has left a lasting impact on Europe and beyond. As former Prime Minister of Belgium and a statesman deeply committed to fostering cooperation and sustainable growth, he brings invaluable insight into the dynamics that shape our global economy today. In a world of ever-evolving economic landscapes, the future of Europe-Gulf economic relations holds immense potential for mutually beneficial collaboration. With his strategic vision and commitment to strengthening international partnerships, he is here to explore how these regions can leverage their unique strengths to drive prosperity and innovation. Please join me in welcoming to the stage His Excellency Yves Leterme, former Prime Minister of Belgium.
Mr. Minister, Madam Chair, Executive President Altuntas, dear Mrs. Mandela, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to start by sharing with you my gratitude. Wholeheartedly thank you to the leaders of Bahrain and to Mr. Altuntas and his team for being invited here as a Belgian at what I would call the gateway to the Gulf region and to address your august audience at this remarkable event. Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I think that even being fully aware of what we call the risks of the negativity bias, namely the natural human tendency to wrongly consider the present we are living through as the most decisive moment in the world's history, even taking into account the risks of that negativity bias, I think it is a matter of fact that we are indeed witnessing today, 2024, 2025, impressive developments. That indeed world's history is unfolding in front of us for the better and the worse. For the better and the worse, and I don't think we need the negativity bias to be aware of the long list of daunting risks ahead of us. But typical for entrepreneurs, and typical for investors, I think, and typical for good leaders, is to focus on the opportunities. And on the side of the better, the other side of the worse, I would say we also see some promising developments. Indeed, we, for instance, have recently noticed important progress in the cooperation between the European continent, the European Union, and your region, the Gulf region. Indeed, no longer ago than last month in Brussels, the leaders of the European Union and the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council have met for the first time in an unprecedented format at the highest level. This meeting on the 16th of October, I humbly think, marks an important deepening of the political and diplomatic relations between our two regions. And it has confirmed that the European Union and the GCC consider and respect each other as really strategic partners. Ladies and gentlemen, the conclusions of that meeting identified indeed common interests and a real concrete agenda for cooperation, and explicitly also expressed the willingness of the leaders to see our nations more than ever joining forces, seizing the opportunities and addressing the challenges of the 21st century. And I think that our world is in need of such new avenues of cooperation, avenues that will forge the future of relations. The agreed stronger and more concrete cooperation between the EU and the GCC, I think, ladies and gentlemen, comes timely. Indeed, as we know, and it has been assessed and written by many experts, the post-World War II multilateral order is clearly not up to date, is clearly not fit for purpose of the new to build global order of the 21st century. And at that time, I think, the increased regional and interregional cooperation in all parts of the globe can help shaping what I would call new forms of political and diplomatic inclusion on a fairer basis, and a so much needed better balance between the incumbent and the new global and regional powers. Ladies and gentlemen, in that new to build multilateral world, the nations of your regions, the nations of the Gulf region will undoubtedly play an increased crucial role. So, a more intense and concrete cooperation and the alignment of interests on the global scene, the interests of the EU and the interests of your region, of the GCC countries, whenever possible, can contribute to mitigate the security risks we are facing with, for instance, the rising aggressive antagonism building up between the two superpowers. But of course, in order to fully achieve the big potential of our cooperation, we should be fully aware of the fact that we Europeans face also some homework at our end. We have indeed, as Europeans, amongst others, to put order in our governance and domestic problems and to urgently reboost our competitiveness, like it was again described very well in the so-called Draghi report. And I think that, furthermore, we indeed have to more concretely, as Europeans, take responsibility for our declared ambition of the so-called strategic autonomy. And I'm even open to add this morning that we also have to put aside some attitudes of the past and the temptation of using double standards in the evaluation of conflicts, not the least, not so far from here. I think by doing so, we can build a more stable ground for alliances in favor of free trade, interconnectivity, and investment in our two regions. Ladies and gentlemen, more efforts for free trade, interconnection, and investment opportunities is, to my opinion, by far a priority for the next years. Indeed, the global economy, and more specifically also the economy of the European Union and of the GCC countries, they all need free trade as human bodies need oxygen. Long-lasting protectionism, like it is rising, we witness the rise of protectionism. Well, this protectionism is never a real solution. Economic progress is not a zero-sum game. Therefore, I think that beyond the fundamental issues of security and safety, we should join forces to fix the current problems in the global multilateral trade framework and lead by example from the European Union, from the GCC, lead by example through the conclusion of an EU-GCC FTA, including an investment chapter, which could be made possible in a foreseeable period of time, as we learned in Brussels in October. Ladies and gentlemen, as of today, the European Union is your second largest trade partner, the second largest trade partner of the Gulf region. And it clearly has a huge potential to boost your strive of economic diversification. And seen from Europe, the Gulf countries are attractive markets and offer an extraordinary investment potential. And of course, we also have in common that our economies and societies are increasingly interacting with Asia. So the recently signed MOU on the economic so-called IMEC corridor between India, the Middle East, and Europe therefore marks the very welcome common ambition to bring to fruition the enormous economic and human potential of Asia that is regaining its central place on the global stage. We should there join forces. Because in that perspective, a crucial role of the Gulf region is, of course, to become the green energy technology hub of the world. And I think I should add the investment and startup hub of the world. And Europe should partner with you in creating new worldwide value chains and markets for clean energy solutions and for sustainable development. The European Union is even more than other continents in need of your help to achieve the needed transition to a new energy era. Ladies and gentlemen, I was attending the COP29 in Baku until yesterday morning, and I have there again come across lots of very nice examples, very promising new green tech initiatives and enterprises based in our region, in your region, just waiting for capital to unleash their full potential. Of course, beyond the green tech domain, there are lots of opportunities for future cooperation between institutions, investors, entrepreneurs from both our regions in the domain, for instance, of research, innovation, and education. To make sure we bring our cooperation, our working together to its full potential, we should, I think, also invest more, and this Congress is a nice token of this. We should indeed also invest more in person-to-person interactions. For instance, like it was proposed at the EU GCC summit in Brussels, I think indeed we should enlarge, widen the potential of a program, an EU program like Erasmus Plus from our side, which could be extended in order to allow more students, more young people to visit our universities in both regions. Closer cooperation, the other hand, between the chambers of commerce should be pursued. Common research programs can better be set up, and we should work at even more private sector ownership of our multilateral interaction. The future, ladies and gentlemen, of European Union GCC cooperation is in fact too important to be left over as a topic for diplomats and politicians. And there again, Mr. Altuntas, I think your Congress offers a nice opportunity to make this kind of cooperation between our two regions also a matter of people that not only talk about issues, but also act, invest, and promote entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, given the constraints of the timing, and of course also given the brilliant speakers that will follow here on the stage, allow me to conclude. In terms of the future of the EU GCC and the EU Gulf region cooperation, it is my strong belief that key elements of that cooperation lay in joining forces, EU and GCC, in the current and upcoming global debates to forge the safer, fairer, and more balanced, inclusive, and sustainable world, the world order we need, in seizing the opportunities of the emergence of the Asian economies and markets by building connectivity between the two blocks and through this region, in working together for the setup of centers of excellence in green tech, and last but not least, in multiplying the possibilities for our citizens, our enterprises, especially the younger ones, to exchange and to start common initiatives. And there again, Mr. Altuntas, I consider this Congress, the WBAF event, as a very outstanding opportunity for an increased cooperation, globally speaking, on the global level, but also between the EU and the GCC. I wish it all the best. I wish you a lot of success, a nice day here in Bahrain, the gateway to the Gulf, like Belgium is the gateway to Europe. And of course, I thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.